staying tuned. Welcome back to the Verdict, our election studios, which opened on Monday. And
yes.
so today is day 4. And now we're going to the main discussion segment. Tonight is going to be in 2 parts, but it gives me great pleasure to welcome our first set of guests. Sitting directly beside me here is Dr. Apathy Yusuf, who's a social commentator and, of course, former commissioner for information in Ogun State. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lady.
And
beside me is Chief Godi Wazirike. He's a legal practitioner and also former President Aki Kinga.
Thank you very much for joining us. And from our Abuja studios, we're being joined by Cynthia Mbamalu of Yaga Africa. That is the group that talks, largely speaking, about the young and those who are supposed to have taken up the battle to take over from the much older guests in our political segment. Now, also in Abuja, I see another face there.
Yes.
I see another face there. And, of course, we will get to introduce that guest in just a second. But for now, we're sticking with our with the 3 guests for this segment of the program. But launching straight into it, let me also reassure you that we are working very hard to get Professor Kingsley Moghalu, the presidential candidate of the YPP, back to the program so that he can make his response. This is directly, of course, to those who are sending us tweets and sending us messages.
Yes, because all over social media, we're hearing it wasn't a fair fight.
It was not a fight, first of all.
Exactly.
It was a discussion. But again, technology, as it unfolded, as you saw, made it difficult for Professor Moghalu to respond. But we are working as we speak to get him back on the line so that he can have his own time to respond to some of the comments made by his colleague, presidential candidate of the ANN. Having said that much, we'll go straight to the discussion. As we said tonight, it's voter awareness.
Voter apathy, possible voter apathy, if there will be, and then participation in the process as well.
Now, let me start with you, Chief Yusuf. I mean, as someone who has witnessed your own fair share of elections and the electoral process, do you think there is a link between possible apathy? We had some of the stats earlier on this evening on the program. But do you think there's a link between voter apathy and what people perceive to be the possibilities of either difficulties in the electoral process itself or in the environment in which they're going to cast their votes? Is that a fair comment?
Well, I think we might be talking about despondency on the part of voters, where the awareness, to my mind, is accurate enough, but whether it's going to work on the psyche of our people is another thing. Because if we look at the amalgamation of what the country is going through, the rate of poverty, the political class not working on their followers to the extent that we see Togre, we see a lot of deaths being recorded, we see a lot of emasculation of the people. And again, the politicians, like it was said, that most of them have not learned anything, and therefore they've not forgotten much.
That sounds like, while we're on the subject, let me, as I was saying a bit earlier, that we had a 4th guest in our Abuja studios. That 4th guest, of course, is Mr. Jeff Ojirika, Deputy National Chairman of the Intra-Party Advisory Council. Mr. Ojirika, thank you so much for being with us. Welcome to the Verdict at this time, as we're discussing voter apathy. I'm not seeing him. Okay, there he is. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, coming straight to you, let me come to you directly, since we have just finished introducing you. What do you make about the statistics that we're getting on voter apathy, possible voter apathy? Is there a link between that and the possibility or the trepidation people have or the perception that they have that it is possible that their votes don't count?
Yeah, voter apathy, as you said, could be attributed to the lack of faith that people have in the process. There's a whole lot of apprehension in this present political dispensation in terms of the refusal of Mr. President to assent to the electoral bill, that triggered off a lot of apprehension in the system that this process may not actually come to be free. And the manner in which that process went on, the bill was passed more than 3-4 times and sent to him, and he refused to assent. And also judging by the last election, especially the Oshuri run, all those things didn't really instill confidence. But we believe that a lot of things had happened within this period that could increase voter participation. Quite a greater part of Nigerians have registered in this last exercise, about 14 million. And they are all young people very desirous to cast their votes, at least for the first time in their life. And then we also have a larger political space. Right now we have 91 political parties, 74 presidential candidates, that creates a lot of political space, and that will make for more participation. So we believe with increase in the technology also, a lot of people are getting much aware about issues going on. Before anything happens,
I'm sorry, let me put you on pause.
The 774.
I need to put you on pause. And that's because I'm sure you heard me earlier when I talked about Professor Moghalu and his reaction to comments made in the previous segment before this one. I understand now that we have Professor Moghalu on the telephone from Nnewi in Anambra State. Professor Moghalu, because of time and because we don't know whether at any point you could be cut off, please could you go straight to your response to some of the comments that were made, which I outlined earlier?
Well, first of all, let me talk about my plans for the people of Nigeria. And I was talking about constitutional restructuring.
I'm sorry, Professor Moghalu, could you please go straight to your response to the comments that I made earlier, so that if we're cut off, you've had the chance to respond?
Okay. Is that the comments you were making about the possible coalition?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, let me first of all say that the only election that matters and has democratic legitimacy is an election conducted by the people of Nigeria and supervised by INEC, if it is free and fair. So the people of Nigeria will speak on Saturday and tell us what they think about who should lead them for the next 4 years. There are, as the leading alternative candidate, really, effectively, the third force in Nigeria today, which everyone knows, that I and the YPP represent, it is natural. And I think you can understand that I will be the subject of a lot of envy from people who do not have the gravitas or the political clout or the appeal that I have to a very wide section of Nigerians, on the ground, online, and in other spaces. So it's natural that I'll be the subject of a lot of scheming. It's natural that I'll be the subject of a lot of attacks. I keep my eyes on the prize and do not focus on those small things, I do not worship the gods of small things. So I don't want to, get into contestations with Mr. Feladuro Toye about several very unfortunate comments he made, but I don't want to respond directly. The important thing to tell you is that at all times I have acted on principle and with integrity, and I think everybody knows. Past has been discussed and, rediscussed many, for many reasons, and those people are not me. So it's not me speaking. I can refer you to many other people who participated at various points because they knew it was being rigged. It was being manipulated to a predetermined outcome. Some left earlier, some left later. So I don't want to spend my time on past. I want to talk about the election that matters, and that's the election taking place next tomorrow.
All right, then. Thank you, Professor Moghalu. Thank you very much for your contribution tonight. We're very happy that we got you back and we were able to get you to respond to that. At least now, I'm sure that those on social media will be, and in other media forms also, will see that we did not set this up, and it certainly was not designed to be an unfair fight.
Right, but I wanted to go to Chief Wazirike to ask you to respond to some of the statistics that we have Now, looking at it, it's more of a perception, the poll we're talking about. Just respond to the fact that there appears to be some sort of apathy, as we're looking at pre-election activities from the Southeast. I know that you are former president of Aki Kenga. Is that the case?
Yes, there is a little bit of confusion, but it's being cleared up.
What kind of confusion?
Yes, first and foremost, the independent people of Biafra organization, they said, nope, don't register, don't vote. Now they've amended it to say on that day they're going to do their own referendum. In other words, that they too will be there. Now, the confusion stems from some activities during this week. There is this speculation that some people are very busy making sure that IPOB disrupts the election. And many of us are working overtime to make sure that that does not happen. So we say people should go out and vote. And in the Southeast, believe me, they are anxious. The average person in the Southeast, in the South-South, is only looking for a level playing ground. It's looking for a balanced government. It's not seeking to dominate anybody. Therefore, it is in our interest to come out to vote. And I assure you, they will come out and they will vote in their large numbers.
But in terms of PVC collection in the Southeast, I know there's the talk of come out and do it. In terms of how many people have actually gotten that card that you need to make that difference, how many?
I will lay the blame squarely on the doorsteps of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Why?
Because people have been queuing. At times, they even start queuing by 5 a.m. And they stay there till 6 p.m. They're told, go home, come back another day.
Is it that they don't find their cards or it doesn't get to their turn?
The problem is executive indolence or executive manipulation. If you don't want people to vote, you make sure that their own cards do not come. I don't understand what they mean that if they can't even find their card, come back tomorrow. In some parts of the country, they deliver the PVCs in batches. In other words, they will say, who is the district head? You collect. Not so in the South. In the South, you have to queue, you have to present evidence, and you have to collect your own personally.
Well, but on television, on this program 2 days ago, and even the day before that, we had 2 INEC officials who both repeated the same thing. It is impossible for you to collect your PVC by proxy anywhere in the country.
Well, let me throw this thing to you. It didn't start today. 2015 election. Bauchi states, Yobe states, Borno states, and Adamawa. The collection was almost 85%, the list. Yet Boko Haram was very active and had taken over many of the local governments. And the results came out. Those areas under control of Boko Haram all voted massively for one party.
Well, you see, now we seem to be moving into the realm of...
In the wrong direction.
No, we are moving now into the realm of speculation because if we ask you to give us evidence, I don't know if you have evidence.
Hold on, what do you mean by evidence?
No, what I mean is that...
Just Google.
That it is because...
Google.
No, that it is because something underhand took place. Yes, because that's the inference.
Executive
Maybe I should let you make your point. Yes.
Of situation. If you say one-on-one collection, please maintain it. If you're talking of places occupied by Boko Haram,
yes,
who did you give the PVCs to?
Well, I think that maybe we should stick to what we can prove. Because in this particular instance, I'm not too sure you can prove that. Now, in any case, we are talking about 2019 now, not 2019.
And the question that has been put to you is...
The question that has been put to you,
remember there has been argument. Those in IDPs, independent people, displaced people camps, will they vote? Some other people said they already crossed the borders, that are outside the country, whether they will set up any voting places for them. I know we all screamed. And INEC said, no, we're thinking of those in IDP that can vote in presidential, whether they're in their own home state or not. And funny thing is, when a man is running away, does he remember his PVC?
Okay, let me go to Abuja and ask Cynthia Bamalu, who's of Yaga, Africa. Cynthia, now I want to assume that when we are talking about elections and so on, many of those, the stats that we have indicate that about the largest single block of voters this time around will be first-time voters, people who didn't vote in 2015 and who have never voted before. And if you add that to the number of students and those who are under 35, they form the largest voting bloc. So if that is true, people like you and organizations like yours should actually be in the driver's seat of this election. Is that true?
Yes, actually, this vote, this time around, young people will be determining the outcome of the elections. So if you look at the percentage of registered voters, 51.11% are young people, and if you further break it down, you will see that students constitute about 26%, which is the largest bulk if you break it down by occupation of registered voters. And we've also seen an increase in number of young candidates who will be running in contesting this election, either at the presidential level, National Assembly, state assemblies, and even for governorship. What this means is you have more interest amongst young people to not just participate as voters, but also to compete during the elections. Now, when we talk about young people determining the outcome of this election, it's not just in 2015. Majority of the voters were actually young people. If you look at the data from the INEX card reader on accredited voters, about young people between 18 and 40 were actually the largest chunk of voters. So it's a trend that was set from 2015, and we believe is something that would progress. And the level of engagement, even on social media, in different platforms and fora, you would see lots of young people demanding for even issue-based campaigns. If you look at the trends, you actually see that for 2019 elections, we've had the most political debates that we've ever had in our elections. You look at debates going at both the national level and at the state level for governorship offices, for the office of the president, different for vice presidential candidates, because now the discourse is changing and the dynamics are changing. Whether that would impact on voter turnout is still something we are yet to totally agree on, because until after the elections, we'll never really know how the turnout would be. But if you look at trends, yes, we've had a decrease in turnout of voters, but there are different things to look out for. Because one, the processes for elections are actually getting better. So you'd want to also compare where we're coming from to where we are currently. With the introduction of the smart card and the PVC, the process of accreditation of voters cleaned up the process to limit fraud and manipulation during elections. So it reduced the number of multiple voters that we usually used to have in previous elections. So perhaps that is one of the reasons we're beginning to think, oh, maybe there's a decrease in voter turnout. Or perhaps what we're seeing now is with more, the more the process is getting stiffer, the more we can actually start ascertaining how many people actually turn out to vote. Now that gives us better room or better foundation to start the level of voter education we need to push out in the public space. Now, beyond that also...
Sorry, Cynthia, I'm going to have to put you on pause. Cynthia, I'm going to have to put you on pause. We have to take a break right now. When we come back from that break, we'll come back to you. I know that I put your colleague in the studio there on break not too long ago. We didn't return. But this time around, we will return to you and then return to him before we now come back to our guest in Lagos. But that's after this. Stay with us.